In my senior year of high school, to take care of my best friend, I ended up bringing breakfast for the whole class for a semester, 3 yuan bowls of hot dry noodles, 1 peeled lobster, 1 steak, and an egg. At the end of the month when settling accounts, my best friend poured the hot dry noodles, along with the soup, all over my clothes. I was stunned, but my best friend looked utterly wronged. I misjudged you. Your family is so wealthy. So why are you still trying to make money off us poor people? The bald guy next door only charges 1 yuan per bowl, and you're charging 3. You made 6,000 yuan in 1 semester. Don't you feel guilty? I explained that the ingredients are different, the costs are different. If you think it's too expensive, I won't bring it anymore in the future. But my best friend forced me to bring breakfast for the whole class for free every day. On the day of the college entrance exam, the entire class suffered from vomiting and diarrhea. My best friend, heartbroken, accuses me. How could you poison the whole class just to keep your first place? You don't deserve to be my best friend. Influenced by her words, the entire class joins forces and pushes me off the rooftop. When I open my eyes again, I find myself back at the moment when my best friend asks me to bring her food. Nancy, the cafeteria food is just awful. Hearing Mia's affected voice again, I realized I had been reborn. The pain of every bone in my body breaking still lingered. Mia had been my desk mate since childhood. We have been together from kindergarten, elementary school, and middle school all the way through our senior year of high school. Her family was poor, and life and studies were always a struggle. I always brought her delicious food, proudly claiming that my family bought too much and it would go to waste if she didn't help me eat it. Whenever my family bought study materials for me, there was always a set for her too. Taking care of her self-respect, I always said Mom and Dad bought duplicates. Since childhood, whatever I had, she had too. Until our senior year of high school, Mia got a younger brother, and her family cut off her living expenses, forcing her to drop out of school and get married. It was my parents who funded her, so she didn't have to drop out of school. I never imagined she would betray me. The pungent smell of chives hit me, pulling my thoughts back to the present. Mia tossed a half-eaten vegetable bun onto my desk. I frowned, but she threw herself into my arms. She cooed in a high-pitched voice, acting cute. Nancy, could you bring me breakfast tomorrow? The plain noodles at the shop by the entrance cost 1 yuan a bowl, but I can't afford the side dishes. Could you just bring me a bowl of plain noodles, please? It was the same in my previous life. Mia disliked the cafeteria food and pretended to be pitiful, asking me to bring her breakfast. I felt sorry for her struggles. I thought bringing her breakfast was just a small, easy thing to do. She started bringing breakfast from the family's private chef. Over time, the rich and varied breakfasts attracted everyone in the class. They all begged me to help bring breakfast, 30 portions at a time, $3 each, with shrimp and meat, generous and filling. At the end of the month when settling accounts, Mia suddenly changed her expression, with tears streaming down her face. She looked utterly aggrieved. Nancy, I misjudged you. Your family is so wealthy. Why do you still need to earn money from us poor people? The bald-headed noodles next door only cost 1 yuan per bowl, but you charge 3 yuan. You made 6,000 yuan in 1 semester. Don't you feel guilty? I immediately explained that the ingredients are different, so the cost is different. The shrimp is Australian lobster shipped by air, and the beef is M12 Wagyu. Even the noodles are freshly kneaded and hand-pulled by the chef in the morning, not counting labor. $3 can't even buy a single river shrimp. If they think it's too expensive, I won't bring it anymore in the future. I'll also refund all the previous meal expenses to them. Mia, however, refused to let it go. Are you showing off how rich your family is, if you're so wealthy? Just bring breakfast for the whole class for free. When I refused, she teamed up with the classmates to report me to the principal. Both Mom and Dad are busy with work, and I don't want to bother them with such a small matter. After all, our family isn't short of this little money, and so, they enjoyed free breakfast for an entire semester, until one day during a break, I overheard Mia talking with a classmate in a restroom stall. You're the one with the ideas, Mia. Without you, how could we enjoy such a delicious and expensive breakfast for free? Mia chuckled softly. Mia is just like her foolish parents, simple-minded and loaded with money. In a fit of anger, stopped funding her and also refused everyone's breakfast requests. But on the day of the college entrance exam, the whole class suffered from food poisoning. Mia falsely accused me of poisoning the previous breakfasts, in order to maintain my position as the top student in the class. Ruined the entire class's college entrance exams. The whole class, incited by her, joined forces to push me off the rooftop. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at the moment Mia asked me to bring her food, facing her request from 2 lifetimes. I directly refused. You can't do that. If you think the cafeteria food is bad, then just go hungry for 3 days, and even shit will taste good. The noisy break time instantly fell silent. It seemed they couldn't believe I would speak to Mia like that. After all, I may not always follow Mia's every word, but I at least respond to every request. Mia's face instantly turned grim. In an instant, her eyes reddened, and tears came as soon as she spoke. I know my family is poor, and 1 yuan is the only money I can offer. If you don't want to bring me along, that's fine, but how could you say that us boarders only deserve to eat the pig slop from the cafeteria? Most of the students in the class choose to board at school to save time for studying. For those who board, all 3 meals a day are taken care of in the cafeteria. As soon as these words were spoken, they instantly sparked public outrage. Mia's undisguised malice, the classmates pointing and whispering about me. It reminds me of the hot dry noodles that filled my backpack in my previous life. To ensure the hot dry noodles would still be warm when delivered to my classmates, I switched to a 100,000 yuan hiking backpack, so that all my classmates could get the latest study materials. I took the HG secret exam papers my parents got for me, and photocopied them for my classmates for free, yet all my kindness toward my classmates only earned me being pushed off the rooftop by Mia. The whole class collectively helped forge my suicide note, solidifying the charge that I committed suicide out of guilt. They even stepped over my bones to demand a hefty compensation from my parents. Mia, you must apologize to Mia. It's just bringing breakfast. Your family is so wealthy, you should bring breakfast for the whole class for free. I gave a wry smile. I was reborn into this life, not to be morally coerced by them. I rushed to the homeroom teacher in a few quick steps and loudly reported in front of the whole class. Teacher Jenny, Mia forced me to bring her breakfast. When I refused, she led the whole class in bullying me. I'm miserable. I want to die. I can't read a single word anymore. I want to change seats. I want to change classes. I want to transfer schools. In high school, money and power might not be able to dominate everything, but academic performance certainly can. As the school's top candidate for Tsinghua and Peking University, I rank first in the entire grade. Anyone or anything that interferes with my progress is considered a public enemy in the eyes of the teachers. Finally, I moved to the Supreme King's seat next to the teacher's desk. Mia lay on the desk, tears streaming down her face as she wrote her self-criticism. Mia and I had fallen into a cold war, once inseparable friends who shared everything. Now even a glance could earn a disdainful glare. I didn't mind. I knew very well that I had been reborn. Nothing and no one is more important than my future and prospects. At noon, the driver brought me lunch as usual. Just then, Mia walked in carrying a lunchbox. She exaggeratedly shook the lunchbox in her hand. If you won't bring it for me, plenty of others will. 1 meat, 1 vegetable. Sam next door gave me lunch for free. If you apologize to me now, I might still consider being friends with you, but you have to bring me 3 meals a day, and I'll give you 1 symbolic dollar per meal, $3 a day. Is being friends with her some kind of achievement worth bragging about? I completely ignored her and opened my own lunchbox. There was lobster, Wagyu beef, and my favorite sweet and sour pork ribs. Next to it was a small box of freshly cut fruit. It was so delicious it was almost boring. I shake my head, feeling quite troubled. Eating so well every day, I'm really afraid I'll make Mia next door cry with envy. I glance at Mia, who is desperately swallowing his saliva beside me. $3. Sorry, but this box of fruit alone costs more than $3. Mia was utterly defeated. Who cares about your food, just because you're rich? You think you can trample on people's dignity like this? Her classmates gathered around to comfort her. She was crying and sniffling, as if she had suffered the greatest injustice, yet stubbornly raised my head. I gave you a chance. Everyone has seen your cold and heartless nature. From now on, you will have nothing but money. I smacked my lips while eating. No, I still have the top grade in my class. The gentle Mia was so angry that she squeezed the lunchbox in her hand until it creaked. After this incident, Mia completely held a grudge against me. Even so, I never let my parents stop supporting her financially. After all, if possible, I still didn't want to ruin her life. But Mia didn't see it that way. In the past, she would always borrow my phone and let her classmates use it for free. She gained a good reputation, while I got phone bills and countless harassing calls. After the Cold War, the boarding students had to swallow their pride and come to me to borrow it. Before crying sister even opened her mouth, her voice was already choked with tears. Nancy, lend me your phone. My family is from out of town, and the phone calls are too expensive. Brother Morality started with a paternal tone as soon as he spoke. Me too, you never take the initiative to bring out your phone, we always have to ask. When it comes to generosity, you really can't compare to Mia. I forced a smile. My generosity is indeed small. If you don't have money to make a call, then don't. Whoever is more generous, go ask them. The classroom, which had been noisy due to the end of school, suddenly fell silent. Crying sister began to sob softly, while pattern brother clenched his fists tightly, and as I picked up my backpack to leave, I was stopped by Mia, with tears streaming down her face like pear blossoms. She pitifully grabbed my hand. Are you not helping everyone because you're angry with me, Nancy? What can I do for you to forgive me and agree to bring your phone tomorrow? Tears streamed down her cheeks, looking pitiful and vulnerable. You, who can go home every day, how could you understand that a daily phone call is our way of missing our parents? You're the only one in the whole class who dares to sneak a phone in, and none of us reported you. What more do you want? It's funny to say, but the classmates who were just speechless moments ago, all stood behind Mia, praising her for speaking out for justice and having a broad perspective. I have money but no conscience. I pretended not to understand their emotional blackmail and the calculation in Mia's eyes. Just like usual, I took their phone power banks home to charge, and promised to bring them their phones to use tomorrow. The classmate who asked me for the phone in the morning was brushed off with the excuse that I had forgotten to bring it. During the break, I was still sweating it out on the playground. But an unpleasant voice suddenly came over the broadcast. Dear students and teachers, I am Mia from the advanced class. I am here to report Mia for violating school rules by bringing a phone to school, playing games during class, and seriously disrupting classroom discipline. The report to the broadcasting station was Mia's little trick. She was afraid that the teacher would go easy on me because of my grades. A wave of nausea rose in my throat. It felt like the slimy chill of being watched by a cold, venomous snake. When I returned to the classroom with the teacher, all the classmates were gathered around my desk, their expressions either gloating or triumphant. There was not a trace of guilt or sympathy among them. I clutched my backpack tightly, refusing to let the teacher check it no matter what. Mia's cold voice came through. Teacher, you wouldn't let Mia off just because her family is wealthy and donated a few school buildings, would you? Could it be that even schools, which are supposed to educate and nurture people, must bow to money and make way for power? Although we are poor, we have an upward spirit. Don't look down on the poor youth. Mia's words successfully stirred up the classmates' resentment toward the wealthy, and everyone began to make a commotion. Brother Pattern spoke with righteous indignation. Where is justice? Where is fairness? The crying girl's tone was firm. We demand that the school treat everyone equally and issue a public criticism. The teacher, who had originally wanted to find a reason to give me a way out, now had no choice but to look at me with a troubled expression. I still held my backpack tightly. Looking around, I saw Brother Pattern. Are you sure you want to report me? He spread his index finger and thumb apart, signaling for me to broaden my perspective. I glanced at the classmates around me again. Yesterday, you begged me with sweet words to take it back for charging. Today, when you reported me, you turned cold and heartless. I handed the backpack to the teacher. Teacher, I firmly uphold the school's rules and regulations. Whatever the school stipulates, I will comply. Whatever punishment the school imposes, I will resolutely support it. The teacher opened the backpack. More than 20 mobile phones and dozens of power banks were revealed. The classmates who had been gloating just moments ago instantly changed their expressions. Mia's face turned ashen. Among the more than 20 phones, the Apple one gave her was conspicuously present, yet my phone was nowhere to be found. The classmates around me began to wail. Mia, didn't you say this morning that you forgot to bring it? How could you lie? Sob sob. I saved up 3 months of pocket money to buy this phone. Mia, you're playing me. Only after the teacher signaled did the cursing finally stop. I stared intently at Mia. Let's give a round of applause to Mia for her righteous act of turning in her own family. Truly the most principled student in our class, reporting even herself without hesitation. As soon as these words were spoken, the anger that had been directed at me instantly shifted. Mia's face turned pale with fury, tears streaming down. I didn't mean to. I did it all for Nancy's sake. I didn't want to either, but this time, no one fell for her act anymore. All phones were confiscated. It can only be returned upon graduation. The classmates looked at Mia with hatred in their eyes. I didn't fare well either. After this incident, my classmates became even more isolated from me. No one asks me to bring breakfast anymore, and no one asks me to help charge their devices at home, even when I get a perfect score. The whole class still boos. Amid the sighs, I grow increasingly calm. After all, I don't need the approval of these ungrateful people. Compared to me, Mia is even more upset. My family has cancelled the funding for her. I am kind-hearted, not a saint. Someone who constantly schemes against me does not deserve my support. Without me as her free blood bag, letting her feed off me, her life became increasingly strained. The classmates whose phones were confiscated also blamed her for it. Without the conveniences I provided, she gradually lost her influence among the students. To salvage the precarious classmate relationships and save the nearly empty pockets, during a break between classes, she took the initiative to propose, "Classmates, to ensure everyone can have a nutritious breakfast, I've contacted Sarah from the next class. Her father will provide us with beef noodles every morning. The beef noodles that sell for 15 yuan outside, Sarah, out of respect for me, will only charge 10 yuan, $10. You can't go wrong, you can't be fooled." Compared to the school cafeteria, with its ever-present steamed buns, mantou, and triangle pancakes, the snacks sold outside are like a royal feast. Everyone lined up eagerly, shouting. Mia has once again become the beloved little fairy that everyone adores. She leaned close to my ear, whispering proudly, "See, justice lies in the hearts of the people. I still have everyone's support in the class. And they remain grateful to me. Even if you have money, so what? You're still a pitiful little thing that no one loves." The next day, I finally saw the beef noodles that Mia had promised. On top of the bland, watery noodles lay a large cabbage leaf and a handful of pickled mustard greens. Then there were several pieces of scattered meat whose structure was unclear. The lunchbox even had about 2/3 of its space left unused. In my previous life, the noodles I brought cost only 3 yuan. And the toppings were so generous that the lunchbox couldn't even close properly. I was always worried that my classmates wouldn't have enough to eat or that the food wouldn't be good enough, yet they are picky and demand that I change the menu every day. Now, after spending $10, they are grateful and appreciative for this beef noodle soup. I can only say that my perspective is still too narrow. Crying girl, feeling wronged and pitiful. Mia, is this 10 yuan's worth of portion so small? I'm not full at all. Mia didn't hold back just because the other person was a girl. Don't blame the road for being uneven if you can't walk properly. Reflect on yourself more. Why is it that only you can't get full? Could it be that you're too fat? Or maybe a wild boar just can't appreciate fine grain? Finally, to prove they weren't country bumpkins, the girls all left half of their noodles uneaten. The boys automatically went to the snack shop to buy extra snacks, under Mia's influence. The entire class's mindset was elevated. After school, I declined the family driver's pickup. Carrying my school bag, I went to inspect Sarah's family noodle shop. I discovered that their 10 yuan beef noodles had distinct beef pieces and an extremely generous portion of noodles. I wasn't sure if Sarah was deliberately causing trouble or if Mia was embezzling from it. Just as I was about to leave, I overheard Sarah's conversation with her father. "Dad, this lymph meat already smells bad. Is it really okay? These poor people only spend 3 yuan per person. Feeding them lymph meat is already me being kind." After saying that, her father picked up a cabbage leaf and wiped his nose. I was so disgusted I almost threw up. The next day, I saw Brother Pattern enjoying his beef noodles with great relish. I felt a wave of nausea. Noticing my gaze, Brother Pattern raised his hand to block it. Envious. "Want some? Give me $50, and I'll let you have it." I turned my head away, looking at my 4 dishes and 1 soup. I don't have. Seeing you eat so heartily, I envy your good appetite. If you love it, eat more. Anyway, it's the stinky lymph meat and the cabbage smeared with snot. It's not going into my mouth. On the way to the bathroom, I saw Mia hiding in the corner, eating heartily, a full bowl of noodles, with distinct pieces of beef, eggs, and sausage. The aroma of chili and sesame oil mingled with the foul odor of the restroom. It was eaten with relish. This was not even remotely comparable to the appearance of the beef noodles enjoyed by the classmates, and so, breakfast sharing became a tradition in our class. It's not that no classmates have ever resisted. It's not that no classmates have ever complained about the high price. Everyone is waiting for a sucker like me to rise up and lead the charge. Mia claims on the surface that coming and going is free. Privately, they bribed the class cadres with benefits. Students who didn't join the meal plan would be ostracized. During the big cleaning, they were assigned to clean the toilets. In class activities, they were placed at the bottom, receiving no benefits and only contributing labor. In the end, everyone was forced to hand over the money willingly. The meal fee increased from 10 yuan to 20 yuan, yet it was still the same unclear textured lymph meat and cabbage leaves stained with snot. Mia also wanted to control me as before, but I simply didn't take the bait. I had long been isolated by the entire class. One more or one less of her made no difference, yet even so, the tragedy of my past life repeated itself. On the eve of the college entrance exam, my classmates suffered from food poisoning once again. Overnight, all my classmates were sent to the hospital, vomiting and having diarrhea. What a lively scene. The only survivors were me and Mia. To clear his name, Mia took the initiative to go to the hospital where our classmates were getting their stomachs pumped and receiving treatment. She raised her arm and waved. We eat and live together, so why did the whole class get food poisoning, and only Mia was spared? She must have put something in our food. She's the one who harmed all of us. Some rational parents still raised questions, but what was her motive for drugging? To maintain her top ranking in the class. Coincidentally, we had accidentally offended her before, so she made our entire class serve as cannon fodder. Her statement was like adding oil to boiling water, instantly igniting the emotions of the family members. They surrounded my family's villa, rotten eggs, spoiled vegetables, and black dog's blood utterly defaced the exterior walls of my home. The clamorous knocking at the door buzzed incessantly. Mia, don't hide inside and not make a sound. I know you're home. If you have the guts to poison, why don't you have the guts to open the door? Mom and Dad wanted to stop their nonsense. Unexpectedly, the emotions of the family members became even more agitated. You two rotten to the core parents are home too. Perfect, we can settle all our scores together. We've already called the police, and we'll make sure your whole family rots in jail. You'll pay with your lives for our child's future. The police arrived just in time, preventing a tragedy from unfolding. At the police station, my father shielded me firmly behind him. My child could not possibly have any reason to poison a classmate. Without evidence, we cannot accept this accusation. The parents interpreted the father's defense as a provocation. Do you think your family can cover up everything just because you have a bit of money? You must arrest Mia. She is the murderer, and she absolutely cannot be allowed to take next year's college entrance exam. If the police can't give us justice, we will make your entire family pay with their blood. Thinking of the pain from falling from a great height in my past life, I couldn't help but shiver. Dad thought I was scared and shielded me tightly behind him. Without evidence, how can you be sure it was my daughter who poisoned them? Why won't you let my child take the college entrance exam? The parents dismissed it with disdain. Everyone else was poisoned, and only your daughter was spared. Isn't that enough to prove the point? With the help of the police officers, I finally found a chance to speak amidst the crowd of protesting parents. I didn't get poisoned because all 3 of my daily meals were delivered by my family's nanny. What does their poisoning have to do with me? Some parents had a sudden realization. You mean there's a problem with the school cafeteria? The homeroom teacher who followed along shook their head like a rattle drum. Impossible. If it were an issue with the school cafeteria, how could only the students from this one class have gotten food poisoning? Seeing that they couldn't pin the blame on the school as the scapegoat, the family members once again turned their angry gazes toward me. All right, Mia, you've even learned to twist words now. Do you think shifting the blame onto the school will clear your name? Don't think we don't know your motive for poisoning. You're just jealous of your classmates' good grades. You did it so you could become the top student in the school for the college entrance exam. I let out a scornful laugh. I am already the top student in the entire school. What would poisoning them achieve? Making me the top in the city or the province? The homeroom teacher, pressured by the parents, chimed in at the right moment. Student Mia has the ability to become the top scorer in the province. She would have to be insane to poison her classmates and ruin her own future. The homeroom teacher, who had finally mustered some courage, shrank back like a quail under the threat of fists. The family members cursed loudly. Rich people do all sorts of bad things. What reason do they need? Every penny they have is stained with the blood of us common folk. With such wicked parents, their children are born rotten. It's no surprise they do something so vicious. My dad couldn't take it anymore. He rolled up his sleeves, ready to fight. I held back my impulsive father. I didn't want our family to get involved with these locusts. Facing these parents who couldn't distinguish right from wrong, I tore off their fig leaf. Mia never told you that the whole class found the cafeteria breakfast unbearable and that every morning they ate specially customized beef noodle meals she provided, every single day. Without fail, the police officers acted swiftly. They quickly located the suspect at Sarah's family noodle shop. In less than 3 hours, the test results combined with the victim's testimony, I was cleared of suspicion. The lymph meat from Sarah's house is cheap meat scraped from dead pigs. And the cabbage hasn't been washed either. Sarah's dad is like the Breaking Bad drug lord, and all the classmates have become test subjects and victims. Sarah stood with her hands on her hips, feeling extremely wronged. You're only giving $3 and still want meat and vegetables. Do you not understand prices, or are you pretending to be clueless while trying to take advantage of us? We run a restaurant, not a charity. Giving you lymph meat is already us being kind. Brother Morality happened to come out of the bathroom and instantly lost his cool upon hearing Sarah's words. Nonsense, with our grand vision, how could we be so stingy? We clearly gave $10 per meal, and later raised it to $15 to increase the portion size. Sarah can't stand the slightest grievance. Mia from your class told me exactly that. 3 yuan for meat and vegetables. We even have the transfer records. Meanwhile, she herself buys the 30 yuan Supreme all-in-one combo from me every single day. Even the most foolish person would understand now. Mia acted as a middleman, profiting from others' suffering. The crowd began to grow restless. Where is Mia? Let her come out and confront us. But the self-proclaimed champion of justice, who had rallied everyone earlier, had already fled. She wasn't food poisoned at all. She was at home, fully focused and actively preparing for the exam. After repeated phone calls, Mia finally answered. She replied sarcastically, I can earn this money because I have a business mind. Your children having diarrhea is because it's a destined calamity in their lives. You can't blame heaven or earth, and you certainly can't blame me. The previously aggressive family members instantly broke down. The classmates wept in pain, filled with regret. But if you don't take the price difference, we wouldn't have gotten food poisoning. All they got in response from the other end of the phone was the beeping sound of a hang-up. The truth was already clear as day. Mom and Dad didn't want to get involved in this mess. They took me home and went to bed early. After all, my college entrance exam must go on. Who can truly save anyone else? The next day was the college entrance exam. More than half of the classmates were still in the hospital receiving 4 drips. Unconscious, I had no choice but to regretfully abandon the exam. Brother Big Picture was actually in the same exam hall as me. While answering questions, he was also spewing nonsense. His right hand was writing furiously, while his left hand was gesturing the number 8, symbolizing this grand vision. All the examinees in the entire examination hall were covering their noses, struggling to survive. The harsh environment, however, ignited my fighting spirit. The red book on my chest glowed brightly. My pen moved as if guided by divine inspiration. I was fully prepared for the afternoon exam. A mask and perfume were both essential. However, Brother Morality was exhausted due to diarrhea. He went to the hospital to share the joys and sorrows with his classmates. It is said that before losing consciousness, he was still waving his 8-fingered hands, shouting loudly, "Let me out, I can still write." His parents couldn't bear to see it and still wanted to force him into the exam hall. But they were splattered with the liquid he spewed and had no choice but to send him to the hospital in regret. I have completed all my exams with peace of mind. Even if I'm not the top scorer in the province, Tsinghua and Peking University are still a sure bet for happiness. I met my classmates again 3 days after the college entrance examination ended. The teacher organized a group score estimation for us. When I entered the room, most of my classmates had already arrived. The looks they gave me were filled with awkwardness and shame, but I had long stopped caring about what these people thought. The last to arrive was Mia. She swaggered about, proud and unrestrained. The moment she appeared, she was tightly surrounded by her classmates. Mia, how dare you still come to the classroom? Do you know you've ruined everyone's future? What are you going to use to compensate for our losses? Barren lands breed unruly folk. Your whole family of paupers raised an ungrateful wretch like you. Spit out the money you've earned. Don't you feel guilty making such ill-gotten gains? Even the usually kind homeroom teacher shook her head disapprovingly. Mia, I've always taught you that a gentleman loves wealth, but acquires it through proper means. However, Mia showed no appreciation at all. She jumped onto the desk and crossed her legs. What do you think you are? I've already graduated. Yet you're still putting on your teacher's airs. Aren't you ashamed? Then, she directly unleashed a move like a tidal wave. She violently pushed away the classmates surrounding her. Want money? She patted the luxury bag on her shoulder. No money, extra meat and vegetables. Did I not add enough meat for you, or did I skimp on your vegetables? If it weren't for me, you wouldn't be able to enjoy such a special breakfast. The classmates pounded their chests and stomped their feet. Seething with helpless rage, she noticed me standing by, completely detached from the matter. Can't help but throw shade and stir up trouble. If you were as rich as Mia, flying in Australian lobsters and Wagyu beef every day, never eating the same thing twice, you wouldn't end up with diarrhea so bad you couldn't even take the college entrance exam. I heard, Nancy, you were in the same exam hall as the poop sprayer. Must have been unpleasant being marinated in the smell of feces and urine. If you don't do well on the exam, don't blame it on him, just admit you're not up to it. So, the big picture guy has a new nickname. This time, I will definitely crush you. I will be first in the class, and first in the whole school. She stood with her hands on her hips, letting out a villainous cackle. I interrupted her performance. I forgot to tell you, Sarah's dad wipes his nose with cabbage. Cabbage pickled in snot must have a unique flavor, right? Before the words even finished, a wave of disgusted sounds erupted. Looking at everyone's slightly pale faces from food poisoning, I revealed a satisfied smile. I was afraid they wouldn't believe me, so I connected my phone to the multimedia system. I played the video I had secretly recorded that night. Mia, who had been trying hard to stay calm, could no longer hold back. He joined the vomiting brigade. The crying girl's eyes were red, her fingers trembling. You knew all along, why didn't you tell us? Aren't we your dear classmates anymore? We've been together day and night, as close as family. How could you treat your own family like this? I was so angry I actually laughed. Which model of relatives are you? The ones who ask me to charge their phones, then stab me in the back by reporting me for bringing a phone, or the ones who take advantage of me at every turn, yet secretly resent the wealthy and call me a fool with too much money, or the ones who, regardless of right or wrong, immediately try to have me locked up and prevent me from taking the college entrance exam? The students looked at each other, speechless. In the next classroom, Sarah and Mia were tangled up in a fight. Mia slapped Sarah. You little wretch, how dare you use cabbage to wipe your nose? Where is your conscience? Sarah kicked her to the ground. Didn't you eat my conscience? Mia struggled desperately on the ground and finally managed to pull out a strand of her hair. How dare you call me a dog? Sarah was furious with embarrassment. A dog has more conscience than you. Give me the money. Return my money. Mia was ultimately not as strong as Sarah. She was quickly knocked to the ground, bruised and battered. She looked at me pitifully. I'm going to report you to the homeroom teacher, to the principal. I'll have a major demerit recorded against you, and I'll have you expelled, even if you report it to the central government. It won't matter, Mia, in this lifetime. We're locked in a fight to the death. This farce finally came to an end only after the homeroom teacher stepped in to mediate. The day the results came out, my parents' WeChat step count broke 30,000 steps, but they hadn't left the villa all day, watching my helpless parents. I joked, what if I fail the exam? Mom pulled me into her embrace. Even if you don't do well, it's okay, our family has a throne waiting for you to inherit. I stole a glance at Dad, who was rubbing his hands together nervously. What if I don't do well on the exam and end up having no future? Dad straightened his chest. Your dad is healthy and strong. Even if you have no future, I'll raise you like a little princess, having lived 2 lifetimes. This was the first time I ever checked my results. The moment the password was entered, 721 points, Tsinghua University is a sure thing. The whole family cheered with joy. My heart, which had been anxious for 2 lifetimes, finally settled. Our school has a tradition where the homeroom teacher personally hands out the admission letters. Unlike the lively and joyful atmosphere in other classes, our class was shrouded in gloom. Most of the classmates did not take the college entrance examination, and those who barely participated did not achieve satisfactory results. Now, they can only come to inquire about repeating the year. In the class, only Mia and I achieved ideal results. As soon as we met, Mia then revealed a smug smile. I got into Central South University. Do you know Central South University? It's a 211, 985, and a double first-class university. What university did you get into? Don't tell me you didn't even get into a first-tier university. The bruises on her face had yet to fade, making her smugness appear somewhat comical. Before I could even open my mouth, the homeroom teacher spoke up. Our class's top student, the top student in the grade, and also the top student in the entire province, is our classmate Mia. Let's give her a round of applause. The classmates, eager to spite Mia over their recent grudge, didn't even bother with their old resentment toward me. Amidst the thunderous applause, I received the admission letter from Tsinghua University. My life has finally shaken off the shadows of my past life and opened a new chapter. Beside me, Mia could no longer control her expression. She angrily spoke up. If your family had no money and you didn't have access to so many resources, how could you possibly achieve such grades? What I can't stand the most is your calm and indifferent demeanor, as if you're bestowing charity upon others. Every time I receive your family's financial aid, It feels like an insult to my dignity. Only then did I realize, my self-righteous support and rescue were seen by her as charity, as humiliation. She smiled with relief. But it's okay, I'm going to college too. I'll have a bright future and a promising career. Yet her smile froze and shattered the moment she saw the admission letter. North Barrier Street Technical Institute. Teacher. Are you sure you didn't make a mistake? This isn't mine. The teacher looked a bit puzzled. I thought you were just being abstract. Mia was completely shattered. I applied to Central South University. She then turned her spearhead toward me. It must be you, Mia. You just can't stand to see me doing well. You deliberately framed me, didn't you? This time, the homeroom teacher finally stopped pretending to be a quail and firmly shielded me, the top scorer, behind her. I just checked the system, and you did indeed apply to BL Street Technical College. If you don't believe me, check it yourself. Mia's hands trembled as she opened her phone, still determined to drag me down. It must be Mia who bribed the teacher with money to change my application on purpose. The crying girl's voice, choked with sobs, rang out. I was the one who changed it. I just wanted to repeat the year with my favorite classmate. Is that wrong? Mia couldn't believe it. How did you know my account password? The crying girl was sobbing so hard she nearly fainted. That day when you were showing off your grades, I secretly memorized the password. Mia was completely deflated. She sued the crying girl, but it couldn't change the fact that she was going to BL Street Technical College. I don't know how she convinced her family, who favored sons over daughters. How did you manage to raise the tuition fees? In the end, she tearfully joined the army of repeat students. On the first day of school, her parents, grandparents, and maternal grandparents all came together, the school gate, and I became the backdrop for their photos. Wanting to go home and inherit the throne, I have to give it my all to make it look effortless. Whenever I feel like I can't go on, I open the high school repeaters group chat. The group chat records Mia's battles of wits with the entire class. She was assigned to clean the toilets every day, but her classmates seemed to have lost their aim, as feces and urine were always smeared on the walls. She dared not use her phone, because in just 1 month, 3 of her phones had been confiscated. The moment she showed her head, she was caught instantly. As soon as she took it out, classmates would report her to the teacher. After Sarah's father was sent away, she used her financial power to get into the same class as Mia. From that day on, her meal tray would always be filled with various high-quality proteins. Sometimes it was flies. Sometimes it was caterpillars. Even more excessive are the maggots. Mia was miserable, yet powerless. Another year of the college entrance exam. Mia, however, underperformed again due to food poisoning, achieving only a remarkable score of 250 points. She crawled in the darkness, twisted and contorted, but the surveillance cameras were broken, and everyone had a perfect alibi. The last time I received a message from Mia was a text from an unknown number. Nancy, please, save me. My mom wants to marry me off to the 45-year-old lame man from the neighboring village. You're the only one I have left. Please, save me. I blocked and deleted her in one go. In this second life, I finally understand. Respect others' fate. Let go of the savior complex. Embark on a brand new life. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. My best friend and I both married into the wealthy Lin family. I became the elder sister-in-law, and she became the younger sister-in-law. We got pregnant one after the other, but we gave birth on the same day. I gave birth to a boy with congenital heart disease, who was despised by everyone in the Lin family. My best friend gave birth to a fair and healthy boy, who was adored by the Lin family. To cure him, our branch of the family gave up our inheritance rights and willingly allowed ourselves to be expelled from the clan. Later, the child recovered from his illness, but he recognized my best friend's branch as his parents, leaving us, who had sacrificed everything for him, to freeze to death under a bridge without any dignity. After my death, my soul did not immediately disperse, and only then did I realize that on the day of delivery, the child I gave birth to was the healthy boy. The child with congenital heart disease was my best friend's. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day my best friend and I gave birth on the same day. Luna, do you think our children will be boys or girls? A gentle voice came from the hospital bed not far away, and I slowly opened my eyes to look over. My best friend, Lucy, was gently stroking her belly with a motherly expression on her face. I glanced at her in astonishment, then ruthlessly pinched myself under the covers. It hurt. I have truly been reborn, returning to the day when she and I were in the delivery room awaiting the birth. In my previous life, She asked me the same question, and at the time, I didn't realize there was a deeper meaning behind her words. I even smiled and answered her, whether it's a boy or a girl, as long as it's my child, I will love them. Would you still love an unhealthy child? Lucy asked the exact same question as in my previous life. In my past life, I was completely unaware. But after being reborn, I realized that Lucy had actually known all along that there was something wrong with the baby in her womb. She deliberately swapped my healthy child. In my past life, I teased her playfully, Lucy, you're overthinking it. We eat well, live well at the Lin families, and have dedicated care. The baby is sure to be healthy. Don't scare yourself, and don't scare me either. I'm easily frightened. But Lucy insisted on getting a definitive answer from me. And I gave her a firm reply, as long as it's my child, I will love and take good care of them. Luna, you have to keep your word. Lucy smiled happily, and I still felt baffled at the time. Little did I know that Lucy was scheming against me back then. Now, I am facing exactly the same problem again. I simply turned my face away and pressed the nurse call button. The dedicated nurse, Kathy, immediately came to my side and gently asked, Mrs. Lin, what do you need? Move me to a private delivery room. I don't want to stay with her. Kathy was somewhat shocked but did not refuse my request. As the eldest daughter-in-law of the wealthy Lin family and a pregnant woman about to give birth, it was only natural for me to have some sudden, unusual demands. Mrs. Lin, please wait a moment, I'll arrange it for you right away. Lucy anxiously called out to the nurse, Kathy, stop right there. Mrs. Lin, would you like me to call your dedicated nurse for you? Kathy asked politely. Lucy snorted coldly, ignoring Kathy, and said with an air of arrogance, stay where you are. Kathy looked at me. Mrs. Lin, handle it according to my requirements, the sooner the better, I calmly instructed, and Kathy obediently left the room. Lucy looked at me with displeasure. Luna, what do you mean by this? Are we still best friends or not? We used to be. In my past life we were. But not anymore. This time, I won't let her scheme succeed. That ungrateful wretch can stay with them and suffer on their own. Lucy, I always thought of you as my best friend, but I never expected you to say my child is unhealthy. I don't want to see you again before the baby is born. After saying that, I turned my head away and refused to look at her. I'm afraid that if I look at it any longer, I won't be able to suppress the anger in my heart. Lucy didn't notice my unusual behavior and thought I was angry with her because of concerns about the baby's health. She immediately explained to me, Luna, that's not what I meant. I'm just nervous before giving birth. Don't overthink it. We agreed to give birth together and chat in the delivery room while recovering. You can't leave me behind. In the end, Lucy resorted to her usual trick again. She looked at me with reddened eyes, as if she had suffered a great injustice in my past life. It was because I compromised time and again in the face of her repeated tricks that she always managed to gain advantages from me. Unfortunately, this time I will never compromise for her. Lucy, I don't want to hear any inauspicious words before the child is born. It's no use trying to persuade me. Seeing that my mind was made up, Lucy stopped trying to persuade me. However, it wasn't long before the Lin brothers came into the room. My husband, Jason, saw me and smiled gently. Quickly walking over to my side and touching my forehead, don't be afraid, my dear, I'll be with you. My husband is always so gentle, making my heart flutter and feel at ease, willing to give everything for our child. But in our past life, we both misplaced our affection for family, and it ended in tragedy. Husband, I called out to him with deep emotion, and he anxiously asked, are you in pain? I was about to answer when I heard the incredulous voice from the next bed, Bob, honey. You must have misheard, right? Sister-in-law has such a good relationship with you. How could she suddenly want a single delivery room when she's about to give birth? Lucy said with grievance. Husband, it's true, it's all my fault for saying something that upset Luna. Please help me persuade her. Bob walked over to my bedside, looking puzzled. Sister-in-law, is what Lucy said true? Do you really want to switch to a single delivery room? That's right, I replied with a smile. Bob was even more puzzled, yet he bluntly accused me of bullying Lucy. Sister-in-law, aren't you bullying Lucy? She's your sister-in-law, and you're doing this at a time like this. Aren't you worried something might happen to the baby in your belly? His words placed him on the moral high ground. If it were me from my past life, I would definitely have been the nice guy and compromised for Lucy. However, having been reborn and now aware that Lucy is scheming against me, how could I possibly stay with such a malicious woman? Bob, apologize to your sister-in-law. Before I could speak, my husband had already made his stance clear. Bob was taken aback. Brother, it was sister-in-law who was in the wrong. why should I apologize to her? Lucy immediately chimed in, yes, big brother, you should persuade Luna together with Bob to let her stay with me. Without her, I'd be scared. As she finished speaking, Lucy sniffled, looking utterly wronged. The sight of her made my eyes ache and my stomach churn the longer I looked. Ugh, all right, I couldn't hold back a dry heave, and my husband's face instantly darkened. Lucy, even though you have a good relationship with my wife, you must not disregard the hierarchy. Bob, is this how you teach your wife manners? Bob, scolded by Jason, grew even angrier. Big brother, are you so biased in favor of your wife that you can't tell right from wrong? It's your wife who's bullying my wife. And you're lecturing me. I glanced over at the couple and happened to catch a fleeting look of triumph in Lucy's eyes. She's up to no good again. Second brother, is your elder brother wrong to reprimand you? You keep accusing me, but have you ever considered the truth of the matter? Lucy and I have a very good relationship, but just as we were about to give birth, she kept asking me what I would do if the baby wasn't healthy. I sighed and continued, I'm also pregnant, and I'm further along than your wife. I'm scared too. After saying that, I also pretended to sniffle. Besides, would my relationship with Lucy grow distant just because we're in different delivery rooms, or is it that Lucy is convinced my child is unhealthy and keeps bringing up the baby in my belly? I spoke slowly, word by word, but my gaze remained fixed on Lucy and her husband. The two of them looked as if they were facing a formidable enemy, a flicker of guilt quickly flashing in their eyes, especially Bob, who even shot Lucy a covert glare of anger. Just as I suspected, Bob was aware of the plan to switch the children. I can't stand staying in this ward for another moment, Lucy and her husband tried to explain to me, but I dropped a harsh remark. Lucy, even if you're just nervous, it's hard for me to continue staying with you. I believe you're just nervous. But I still need to go to the single delivery room. This is also for the sake of the Lynn family's reputation. These final words finally silenced Lucy and her husband. In a prestigious family like the Lynn family, reputation is of utmost importance, and the media is always watching closely. If sisters-in-law share the same delivery room, the media might accuse the mother-in-law of mistreating her daughters-in-law. The dedicated nurse, Kathy, walked in and said, Mrs. Lynn, the new delivery room is ready, I'll take you there. I nodded, and my husband followed behind, carrying my belongings. After settling in, I realized Bob had also followed me over. A sense of urgency trailed after me. It also made me aware that they hadn't given up on the plan to switch the babies. My delivery room was still on the same floor as Lucy's, separated by only 3 rooms, making it easy to swap the babies. But when it comes to giving birth in a wealthy family, no medical staff would dare to be bold enough to swap the child. Thus, the only ones who could have swapped the child are Lucy and Bob. It's unlikely that Lucy swapped the child after giving birth, so the one who took action must be Bob. I feel like I've guessed the truth, and my hand under the blanket clenches tightly into a fist. Sister-in-law, both you and Lucy are about to give birth. Lucy is just too nervous, so please don't be angry. Our Lynn family has a large business and many responsibilities. It's better for you and Lucy to stay in separate delivery rooms. I'll go over and keep Lucy company first. I gave him a faint smile. All right, go ahead and stay with her. As soon as he left, my husband sat down beside me. Honey, did something happen? Honey, you must take good care of our children, I said earnestly, tears welling up in my eyes. My husband didn't understand what I meant and replied with a smile, of course. They're our children, I'll definitely take good care of them. I was anxious, yet I couldn't tell him about my rebirth, not to mention how unbelievable this matter is. Given our tragic experiences in our past life, it's enough for me alone to know he should maintain his high spirits like this. Before my water broke, I immediately told him many news stories about hospitals stealing or swapping babies. My husband found it unbelievable, but he didn't argue with me. It was while I was telling him these news stories that my water broke. Lucy also went into labor. We were taken to separate delivery rooms. After 6 hours, the baby was born. I was exhausted, but I didn't dare to sleep. I watched the medical staff clean my baby. I saw them put the special hospital newborn bracelet on the child. I watched as she brought the baby to me. The baby was fair and healthy, with both hands energetically grabbing at the air. This is my child. I was physically exhausted and fell into a deep sleep. When I woke up, the first thing I saw was my husband. I asked weakly, Honey, where is the baby? He chuckled lightly. Honey, you've worked hard. The baby is over there, with Kathy watching. Don't worry. I nodded and said to him, Bring the baby over for me to see. He smiled helplessly and had Kathy bring the baby over. The baby hadn't been swapped. and I breathed a sigh of relief. Jason asked me at that moment, "How are you feeling now? Do you want to eat something?" Almost as soon as he finished asking, Kathy had already brought over the pregnancy nutrition meal. I ate quietly, and after finishing, I started feeling drowsy and wanting to sleep again. Before falling asleep, I repeatedly reminded him, "Husband, you must take good care of our child, you must stay by their side at all times and stay focused." Jason was even more helpless, yet he patiently assured me, "All right, rest easy, I'll take good care of the children." With his words, I felt much more at ease, but I still couldn't fully let go of my worries. However, a woman who has just given birth is truly weak, and it's largely beyond my own control. I soon fell asleep again. When I woke up again, it was already 3 in the morning. Jason was not there, and Kathy was not there either. My heart tightened, and I immediately pressed the nurse call button. The first person to enter the ward was my mother-in-law, Mrs. Lynn. "Mom, what brings you here? You and Lucy have given our Lynn family 2 boys. How could I not come? I had the nanny prepare some chicken soup. Would you like a sip?" I couldn't bring myself to turn down my mother-in-law's kindness, so I smiled and replied, "Sure," but deep down, I really wanted to see the baby. However, my mother-in-law was sitting right beside me, smiling as she watched me, so I had to force myself to stay alert and drink the chicken soup. I absent-mindedly finished the soup and asked proactively, "Mom, where did Jason go?" "He just left the room to go to your second brother's place. Your dad had something to ask him, and he'll be back soon." "He just left?" I asked suspiciously. My mother-in-law nodded without hesitation. "That's right," but I felt uneasy inside, always sensing that something wasn't quite right. In my previous life, Lucy and I also had a son. The night I gave birth, my in-laws didn't even come to the hospital to see us. But tonight, both my in-laws came. And they even called Jason away. I had a ridiculous yet real premonition inside. "Mom, I want to see the baby." "What's so interesting about babies? They all look the same. The most important thing right now is for you to focus on recovering. You can see the baby tomorrow." My mother-in-law's words were meant to be caring, but they tactfully dismissed my request to see the child. Feeling even more uneasy inside, I insisted, "Mom, please bring the baby over. I want to see them." However, my mother-in-law firmly commanded me, "Luna, you've just given birth and shouldn't get too worked up. You've already had the chicken soup, so get some rest now. You can see the baby tomorrow." She didn't bring the baby over for me to see, but I was too worried that the baby might have been switched. So I pressed the nurse call button again. My mother-in-law frowned and glared at me angrily. I gave an awkward smile and said, "Mom, I just want to see the baby. It's not that I'm not following your arrangements." This time, Kathy arrived quickly. "Mrs. Lynn, what would you like me to do?" "I want to see the child." Kathy immediately brought the child over. With just one glance, I could tell something was wrong with the child. "My child has been swapped. This is not my child. Both Lucy's child and the child I gave birth to are boys, and they both look fair and tender, but their lip colors are different. My child's lips are pink, while Lucy's son, who has congenital heart disease, has lips tinged with a faint purple. Moreover, compared to my healthy child, the baby in front of me is clearly much weaker. This is not my child." My resolute assertion immediately prompted Kathy to go and call my husband. However, my mother-in-law stopped Kathy from leaving. "You are not allowed to go." Then, she turned her cold gaze toward me. "Luna, what are you trying to do?" She asked me what I was going to do. I also really wanted to ask her what she had done in the matter of swapping the children, but now is not the time to pursue these matters. I must find my child. "Mom, I don't have time to explain all of this to you. This child is not mine." "Kathy, go call my husband over." To prevent Kathy from leaving, my mother-in-law actually stooped to standing at the door. Kathy, an ordinary person, had no way to stand up to Mrs. Lynn and could only look at me helplessly. My hand under the covers had already dialed the emergency contact in my phone. Not long after, my husband came over. "Mom, why are you standing at the door?" My mother-in-law looked flustered and said with a smile, "It's nothing, I'm just getting some fresh air here." My husband didn't suspect anything and walked into the room, coming to my side to ask, "Honey, what's wrong?" "Honey, this is not our child." My husband looked suspiciously at the child lying beside me, but couldn't figure out why. However, he trusted me deeply and still asked, "Wife, is this really not our child?" "Yes, this is not our child." Seeing my firm response, my husband immediately adopted the domineering CEO's demeanor, turning a cold face toward Kathy. Kathy hurriedly waved his hands to prove his innocence. "Mr. Lynn, I never left the room before Mrs. Lynn arrived. After she came, she asked me to leave. There's no way the baby could have been swapped. My mother-in-law chimed in as well. That's right, I've been here for quite a while and haven't left either. How could the baby possibly have been swapped? Luna, I think your nerves are too tense. Mom will find you a postpartum psychologist. My mother-in-law tried hard to steer the conversation toward me having postpartum mental issues. But I didn't want to give her any face. Anyone who swaps my child or helps others swap my child is my enemy. Mom, you said you never left the room, but when I first pressed the nurse call button, there was no one in this room. You only came in 10 minutes later. Hearing this, the mother-in-law explained somewhat awkwardly, Luna, I was in the bathroom at the time, so I arrived a little late. However, Kathy refuted the mother-in-law's words. Mrs. Lynn, as soon as I heard the nurse's call, I immediately went to the room door. It was you who stopped me from entering and asked me to fetch a bottle. Otherwise, I wouldn't have left. Kathy happened to be holding a bottle in her hand, and the mother-in-law's lie was exposed. The mother-in-law's face darkened. Luna, what kind of look is that? You don't think I swapped the baby, do you? I didn't answer, but instead directly said to Jason, honey, ask the director to pull up the surveillance footage from this floor for us to see. Jason is a man of action, but when the director arrived, he looked at us with an apologetic expression. It turned out that the surveillance on this floor was broken. There was no surveillance footage I wanted to see, but I insisted that the child was not mine. The commotion I caused was a bit too loud, and my father-in-law and Bob also came over. My mother-in-law straightened her back and snorted coldly. Luna, I know you've been under a lot of mental stress since giving birth. But this is going too far. Thankfully, I had already sealed off this floor, or else the Lynn family would be making headlines tomorrow. Sister-in-law, we're both giving birth, but Lucy is so much more well-behaved than you. Our family is the only one delivering on this floor today. If this child isn't yours, could it be mine and Lucy's? Bob said half-jokingly, a hint of smugness in his eyes. My father-in-law also looked at me disapprovingly. Luna, this scene you're making is too ugly. Once you've finished your postpartum confinement, you should take some time to calm your mind. The implication was that I should reflect on my actions at home. I felt both angry and resentful, but I know I can't act on impulse. This child really isn't ours. What my second brother said earlier makes a lot of sense. Maybe our child was really switched by you, but my mother-in-law angrily scolded me. Luna, have you gone mad? My second brother was joking with me, so can't I joke back? I retorted, turning to look at my husband who was holding my hand. My husband's face was stern as he said coldly, since the director can't produce the surveillance footage, and you can't provide proof that this child is ours, the best course of action is to call the police. Brother, don't call the police. Bob was the first to stop him. My in-laws also joined in to stop him. Jason and I exchanged a glance, sharing a silent understanding. This police report must be made. I believe in the bond between mother and child. If your sister-in-law says this child isn't ours, then it definitely isn't. The police will uncover the truth. Jason spoke while dialing the police emergency number. Bob and the in-laws tried their utmost to stop him. Jason was taller than all of them. He raised his phone, his ink-black eyes fixed tightly on them. You're trying so hard to stop me. Did you swap our children? The three of them instantly froze. Their attempts to cover up only making things more obvious. How could that be possible? Jason didn't waste time arguing with them and quickly called the police. The police arrived swiftly and soon understood the full situation. Then they collected DNA samples from the two children and both of our families. They were going to take them back to the police station for testing, but I was afraid something might go wrong. Officer, could you possibly conduct the testing here on site? The police didn't refuse, but they looked troubled. We can, but the cost is quite high. The Lynn family never lacks money. We will cover all expenses, I said with a smile. The police officer nodded. All right, I'll go make the arrangements now. As soon as they left, my husband and I were criticized by my in-laws and Bob. Throughout the entire process, Jason held my hand and didn't say a word to them. I simply took it all as nonsense and quietly waited for the police to arrive with the forensic examiner. Luna, are you even listening to us? My mother-in-law screamed at me hysterically. I lifted my eyelids and glanced at her. Mom, why are you so nervous? Aren't you afraid that the Lynn family's child might be maliciously swapped? Whether this child is mine or not, the forensic doctor will give us an answer. Why are you panicking, Mom? Could it be you? My mother-in-law immediately retorted. Don't you dare slander me. I haven't done anything and I know nothing about it. Bob shot a fierce glare at her mother-in-law and quickly ran out of my room. The police worked with remarkable efficiency, and the forensic expert arrived with professional equipment, conducting the sample tests right in front of us from start to finish. The situation was urgent, and we also paid extra, after 12 hours. The test results came out. The child lying on my bed is the child of Lucy and her husband. Our child was really swapped out by someone. The current prime suspects are Lucy and her husband. However, the surveillance cameras on this floor of the hospital were broken, and the police reported that the footage had been manually deleted. Their technical team is currently working on restoring it. After the repair, we might be able to find out who switched the child. I have limited mobility. So the police took my husband and the assigned nurse to Lucy's room to retrieve our child. The child is sleeping soundly, and as he lies beside me, he gently twitches his nose, which is utterly adorable. Mother and son are connected, and the more I look at him, the more I like him, with the corners of my mouth unconsciously turning up, and the three who had just tried so hard to stop us slunk out of my room, after everyone had left. My husband said with a look of lingering fear, "I never thought there really was such a thing as swapping babies. Fortunately, the baby wasn't swapped too far away, or it would have been hard to find. My wife really has foresight." Jason tightly held my hand and said with relief, "But he didn't know that I wasn't clairvoyant. I just had memories from my past life. I knew that the person who swapped our child was right beside us. I just didn't expect my father-in-law to be so strange as well. It seemed he also knew something. But I can't be sure yet. My father-in-law's excitement just now might also have been for the sake of the Lin family's reputation." At that moment, my husband sighed in confusion. "But the person who swapped the babies is really strange. They actually exchanged the babies from our two families. The babies never left this floor or the Lin family. What good would that do? Who would be so bored as to do such a thing? Jason is invincible in the business world. But he has a fatal flaw. He values emotions too much. Perhaps he had just noticed something off about Bob and the other two, but he couldn't bring himself to believe it. I knew why, but I couldn't tell him directly. I could only guide him. Maybe it's for some kind of benefit." At the mention of benefit, Jason's expression changed, and soon his face grew serious. "Honey, I will protect you and the child," Jason said solemnly. I don't know if he thought of something, but I know he meant what he said. After this incident, the mastermind behind it shouldn't act recklessly anymore. Stay alert. I couldn't hold on any longer, so I asked him to watch over the child and fell asleep again. When I woke up again, I heard from Kathy that Lucy's child had been admitted to the intensive care unit. It turned out that his congenital heart disease had flared up. The dedicated nurse noticed the child had stopped breathing and immediately rushed him to the emergency room. The news that Lucy had given birth to a child with congenital heart disease for the Lin family couldn't be kept under wraps, and soon the entire Lin family knew about it. As for me, I requested to be transferred to Lucy's room. As a good friend, I should spend more time with her. My husband didn't understand, but he respected my decision. 3 days had passed since she went into labor, and Lucy looked haggard. When she saw me, there was a faint trace of hatred in her eyes. I pretended not to notice and said with concern, "Lucy, it's not your fault that the baby is unwell. You need to take good care of yourself so you can look after the baby properly once you recover." This was the phrase Lucy used to comfort me in my past life, and now I'm returning it to her exactly as it was. "Luna, are you here to laugh at me?" Lucy asked gloomily. I looked at her with hurt in my eyes. "Lucy, we're best friends. How could I possibly be here to laugh at you? I heard your child isn't well, so I came specifically to keep you company and offer some comfort. How could you misunderstand me like this?" As I spoke, my eyes even reddened, and I gazed at her with a look of grievance. The hatred in Lucy's eyes grew even stronger, yet there was nothing she could do to me. After all, there were other people in the room. She forced a laugh and said, "Luna, I'm sorry. I was in a bad mood and misunderstood you." I replied with great magnanimity, "Lucy, it's fine. I don't blame you. I know you're in a bad mood. After all, no one would feel good if their child had a congenital heart disease." Her expression grew even more unpleasant, yet she couldn't find any fault in my words, so she awkwardly changed the subject. "Luna, how is it that you're so lucky? Your children are actually so healthy." I pretended not to hear this. "What did you say?" She laughed it off. "Nothing, nothing. I was asking where your children are, with Kathy taking care of the child. I feel at ease. My mother-in-law said our top priority now is to focus on recovering our health." I used my mother-in-law's words to shut her down, leaving her with no choice but to nod in agreement. I already knew they had ill intentions toward my child, so how could I possibly bring the child into this room? I came here purely to watch the show. In my previous life, after Lucy and the others successfully swapped my child, Everyone in the Lin family, including myself, believed I had given birth to a child with a heart condition. Throughout my postpartum confinement, I endured constant ridicule and criticism from the Lin family, and Lucy was always by my side, comforting me. At that time, I truly thought Lucy was my best friend, always looking out for me. Little did I know that all the suffering in my past life was caused by her. Thinking back carefully, she seemed to be comforting me when the Lin family was mocking me, but in reality, she was fanning the flames, making those people criticize me even more. Now that the roles are reversed, everything I suffered, Lucy must endure exactly the same. The Lin family arrived quickly, each of them mocking and criticizing Lucy to the extreme, while I comforted her from the side. Uncle, Aunt, Lucy also worked hard to give birth to a boy for the Lin family. Although she is not in good health, she still has her merits. Please don't speak of her like that. Lucy is already very upset. Please just let her be. I used the words Lucy had said in my previous life to comfort her and reassure the visiting Lin family. Without a doubt, I became Lucy's counterpart. While they angrily criticized Lucy, they praised me endlessly, saying I was both fortunate and kind-hearted, bringing prosperity to their Lin family, and Lucy was a jinx, causing their Lin family to have a child with congenital heart disease. This set a precedent for their Lin family, and future children were likely to have the same condition. The more the Lin family thought about it, the angrier they became, and they spared no harsh words for Lucy. In just one day, Lucy was utterly exhausted, and her spirit seemed on the verge of breaking, but this was only the beginning. The Lin family would all come during the confinement period. I suppressed the joy in my heart, enjoying the show every day with good food and drink, and resting well at night. Half a month passed, and I recovered well, but Lucy looked haggard, with exhaustion in her eyes. However, there was something even more exhausting and devastating for her. The police had already restored the surveillance footage from that floor and contacted us, the couple. My husband had gone to review the footage. An hour later, my husband arrived, accompanying him were the police. Seeing the police, Lucy was very surprised, yet too guilty to look at them. I pretended to know nothing and said with a smile, "Honey, why hasn't second brother come to see Lucy? Why have you two officers come?" The two officers nodded at me and immediately explained their purpose. "Mrs. Lin, we have recovered the surveillance footage, and it shows that it was Bob who swapped the children." We summoned Bob, and he said it was Lucy who instructed him to do it. Lucy shook her head in denial. "Officer, you must have made a mistake. We already have a son of our own, so why would we steal and swap their child? It must be a misunderstanding. When your child was only 6 months old, you went abroad and found out that he would be born weak. It was too late for medication, and terminating the pregnancy would harm your body. So you thought about swapping for a healthy child. Coincidentally, your sister-in-law, Luna, is pregnant just like you, so you set your sights on her." Your husband not only admitted it but also provided strong evidence. Faced with ironclad proof, no matter how Lucy tried to refute it, it was all in vain. In the end, Lucy dropped the act and glared at me with resentment. "Luna, you're so lucky. The plan was originally flawless, yet you somehow realized that child wasn't yours. You really deserve to die. We both got married and became pregnant. But your husband is considerate and attentive, quitting smoking and drinking for you, while mine doesn't take it seriously at all. He smokes in front of me and often drinks, causing problems for my baby. I originally wanted to have an abortion, but it would have been too harmful to my body. Since the child is a boy, I thought about swapping babies with you. You and your husband are so loving, and I'm sure you would treat the child very well. You are my best friend. What's wrong with us swapping and raising each other's children?" She had already gone mad, and I couldn't be bothered to reason with her. I only said one thing to her: "Lucy, from the moment you plotted against me, we were already done. I don't have a friend like you." She was still in the breastfeeding period, so the police did not take her away but instead placed an activity monitoring bracelet on her wrist. I also took the opportunity to transfer to another hospital. During this time, my husband and I discussed how to handle the matter. I didn't immediately state my position but instead asked him, "What do you think?" The people involved in this matter are Bob and Lucy, but I investigated privately, and my parents probably know about it too, even going so far as to fuel the fire. He seemed a bit hurt, and just as I was about to comfort him, he quickly composed himself. "I am a little sad, but I already have my own family. No matter how they treat me, I won't care too much." I held him tightly, feeling heartbroken. "But why would they do this?" Jason sighed and explained the reason to me. It turned out that Jason and Bob were not born to the same mother. Jason's mother died during childbirth while giving birth to him, and the current Mrs. Lynn is his stepmother. With a stepmother comes a stepfather. The three of them conspired against us together, all to pave the way for Bob. It's a pity that in our previous life, we didn't manage to escape their schemes. In this life, I have been reborn, and we have avoided their schemes. But what about the future? I dare not think about it, but Jason has already resolved this matter. He told me that our branch of the family will not hold them accountable, but we will break away from the Lin family. In return, the Lin family must give us 1 billion yuan and transfer all the coastal villas to our names. They agreed. I found it hard to believe. After all, the beachfront villa was worth a fortune. How could my in-laws and Lucy, who had been scheming against us, possibly give the entire villa to us? Jason chuckled softly. They had no choice but to agree, otherwise, Bob and his wife would have to go to jail. Bob is still being held at the police station. By the time you finish your postpartum recovery, everything will be settled, and we can leave this place. Jason's arrangements suited me perfectly, given the Lin family's background. If we try to deal with Bob, the family won't agree, and our in-laws won't either. If we want our in-laws to pay the price, they won't end up in jail. For the sake of their reputation, the Lin family will definitely protect them, and we might end up being seen as unreasonable instead. So, we can only settle for some benefits as a compromise, which will also ensure the safety of our branch of the family. Bob being locked up in the police station can be considered a lesson for him. Lucy, having done such a thing, will either go to prison or be drowned in the spit of the Lin family. Thus, I no longer need to do anything more. That child with a heart condition is their retribution. He is sure to bring endless surprises to Lucy and her husband. After the postpartum confinement period, Jason had already completed the property handover with the Lin family, and we moved to the Lin family's house that very day. But Jason clearly knew I wanted to watch the drama, so we moved to the neighboring villa area. It wasn't far, making it convenient for me to use binoculars to watch the show. That child with congenital heart disease is truly a retribution. He frequently falls ill, often stops breathing in the middle of the night, and ambulances are almost on standby around the Lin family's home 24/7. Lucy can't sleep well at night and wants to rest during the day, but the child is full of energy and demands her company. If Lucy doesn't accompany him, he cries and screams, disturbing the entire villa community. The in-laws were the first to reach their limit. After enduring for half a month, they made an excuse to go on a trip and left the Lin family, with no one to share the burden. Lucy asked Bob to help take care of the children. However, Bob was never a patient person to begin with. And now that he had become the president of the Lin group, he simply wouldn't listen to Lucy. The two of them erupted into one argument after another. Bob even started staying out all night, leaving Lucy to face the sick child alone. Lucy was utterly devastated, yet she had no choice but to grit her teeth and pull through. The Lin family is wealthy, so the chances of curing the child are quite high. However, none of this has anything to do with me anymore. My husband and I have decided to leave this place with our child. Lucy and the others have already received their due retribution, and they certainly won't have an easy time in the future. After all, that child holds grudges the most. In our previous life, my husband and I were willing to be expelled from the family just so he could stay in the Lin family for treatment, but he thought we had abandoned him. After he recovered, he ignored us completely, leaving us to freeze to death under a bridge without any dignity. In this life, Lucy and her husband often argue in front of him and call him a burden. When he recovers, he will definitely seek revenge. I don't need to think about the outcome for Lucy and the others, because I have already foreseen their fate. We went to be city, a beautiful city. Our children are well behaved and obedient. They always think of us in everything they do, often surprising us and making our lives worry-free and effortless, filled with joy and ease. This child is truly a blessing. Moreover, by our side, he is much more cheerful than in his previous life, sunny and handsome, just as a young man should be. This is the life we were meant to live. In our past life, we wasted our years and misplaced our affections, but in this life, we have found fulfillment. However, on our son's 20th birthday, my husband received a call from his father. He remained silent throughout, responding coldly with to everything said on the other end. Only at the very end did he firmly tell them, "We have voluntarily left the family. The Lin family has nothing to do with us, and we won't take advantage of this. Take care." When my son and I asked him what it was about, he smiled and said, "They're acting crazy, wanting us to go back." My son and I exchanged a knowing smile and both resolutely said, "We're not going back." That night, Jason told me the reason why my father-in-law had called. Bob and Lucy were dead, stabbed to death by their son, whose heart condition they had cured, because he felt they were unworthy of being parents. I sigh, yet it all makes sense. That child truly is an ungrateful wretch. The couple's murder was simply karma coming full circle. This bitter fruit is one they themselves sowed. Serves her right. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to